The True Story of the Three Little Pigs by Rong. Everybody knows the story of the three little pigs, or at least they think they do. But I will let you in on a little secret. Nobody knows the real story because nobody has ever heard my side of the story. I'm the wolf, Alexander T. Wolf. I don't know how this whole big bad wolf thing got started, but it was all wrong. The real story was about a sneeze and a cup of sugar. This is the real story. Way back in Once Upon a Time, I was making a birthday cake for my dear old granny. I had a terrible sneezing cold, and I ran out of sugar. So I walked down to the street to ask my neighbor for a cup of sugar. Now this neighbor was a pig, and he wasn't too bright either. He had built his house of straw. I mean, can you believe that? Who in his right mind would build a house of straw? So of course, the time I knocked on the door, it fell right in. I didn't just want to walk into someone else's house without asking. So I called, little pig, are you in? No answer. I was just about to go home without that cup of sugar. That's when my nose started to itch. And you know what? The whole darn straw house fell down. And right in the middle of the pile of straw, there was the first little pig that as a doornail. It seemed like a shame to leave a perfectly good ham dinner just lying there. So I ate it up. But I still didn't have this cup of sugar. So I walked down to the next house. This pig had built his house of sticks. I rang the bell on the stick house. Ding dong. No answer. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? He yelled back, go away, wolf. I had just grabbed the doorknob when I felt another sneeze coming on. And you are not going to believe that. This guy's house fell down just like his brother's. When the dust cleared, there was a second little pig that, as a doornail, wolf's honor. Now you know food will spoil if you just leave it out in the open. So I did the only thing there was for me to do. I had dinner again. Now I'm getting awfully full. But I still didn't have that cup of sugar. I walked down to the next house. This pig had built his house of bricks. I pounded on the brick house. No answer. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? Do you know what that rude little poker answered? Get out of here, wolf. Talk about impolite. He probably had a whole sack full of sugar. What a pig. I was just about to go home to make a nice birthday card instead of a cake when my cold caught me again. And the third little pig yelled back. And your old granny can sit on a tack. Now I'm usually a pretty calm fellow. But when somebody talks to my old granny like that, I go a little crazy. When the cops drove up, of course I was trying to break down this guy's house. The whole time I was sneezing and making a real scene. And the news reporter jazzed up the whole story with it, huffed and puffed and blowing house down. They made me the big bad wolf. That's it, the real story. I was framed. But maybe you can loan me a cup of sugar.
Sometimes in life, we find what we're not looking for. And that was certainly the case for a Scottish bacteriologist in 1928. Stories go that this bacteriologist returned to work after summer vacation to find a messy laboratory and something quite interesting. You see, in one of the petri dishes where the bacteria was grown, there was mold. And on closer inspection, where the mold had grown, the bacteria had disappeared. I'm telling you all the story of how Sir Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin. The discovery was an accident, and penicillin would be transformed into a miracle drug, which would and continues to save millions of lives around the world. Makes me wonder, what would the world be like if we were all just a little bit more curious? This is an adaptation of the speech given by Sir Alexander Fleming on December 10th of 1945 in Stockholm, Sweden, when he received the Nobel Prize for Medicine. This is Banquet Speech by Alexander Fleming. For many years, I have read of people getting the Nobel Prize, then I always regarded them as a superior class, which was almost impossible to aspire. Now suddenly, I find myself in that class, and I wonder whether they are so different. Did they obtain this great distinction? For indeed, it is the greatest distinction a scientist can obtain. By deep thought, or did Dame Fortune play a part? We all know that chance, fortune, fate, or destiny, call it what you will, has played a considerable part in the main great discoveries in science. We do not know how many, for all scientists who have hit on something new have not disclosed exactly how it happened. But we do know, though, that in many cases, it was a chance observation, which led them onto another track, which eventually led to a real advance in knowledge or practice. This is especially true for the biological sciences, for there we are dealing with living mechanisms about which there are enormous gaps in our knowledge. I am here because of penicillin, and perhaps the story of penicillin illustrates what I am saying. I myself, since the introduction of salvarsan 35 years ago, been interested in chemotherapy and antiseptics. But I was really an immunologist working in a laboratory almost entirely devoted to immunology. Then in 1922, by a combination of fortuitous circumstances, I discovered lysozyme, one of the most interesting antibiotic substances. The extraordinary bacteriolytic power of lysozyme, a ferment present in our normal cells and secretions, especially in supposedly insert secretions as the tears, show me just how powerful an antibiotic substance could be. Unfortunately, lysozyme acted most strongly on the wrong microbes. From the medical point of view, those which did not infect man. But it had its uses, for it had paved the way for penicillin for me, and I also think for my partners in this Nobel Award, Sir Howard Florey and Dr. Chain. Then in 1928, in an accidental contamination of a culture plate by a mold, set me off on another track. I was working with a subject having no relation to molds or antiseptics. And if I had been a member of a team engaged in the subject area, it is likely that I would have neglected the accidental happening and worked for the team with the result that penicillin would have not been described, and I would not be here today as a Nobel laureate. But fortunately for myself, and maybe for the world, I was situated so that I could leave my previous line of research work and follow the track which fate had indicated for me. I isolated the contaminating mold and made an antibacterial substance which I christened penicillin. I studied it as far as I could as a bacteriologist. I had a clue that there was something good, but I could not know how good it was if I had not the team, especially the chemical team, necessary to concentrate and stabilize the penicillin. It was 10 years later that Florey and Chain, made of a complete team at Oxford, succeeded in this and showed the marvelous chemotherapeutic properties of penicillin. Then fortune again intervened, for they had obtained their results in the midst of a great war, when ordinary economics are in abeyance and production could go ahead as it would have never had in times of peace. The result is that in an incredibly short time, manufacturing difficulties have been overcome and penicillin is being produced on a large scale. I've been trying to use penicillin to illustrate 2 points. The first is that while teamwork may inhibit the primary initiation of something quite new, once a clue has been obtained, teamwork may be absolutely necessary to bring discovery to full advantage. The other is that destiny may play a large part in discovery. It was destiny which contaminated my culture plate in 1928. It was destiny which led Chain and Florey in 1938 to investigate penicillin instead of the many other antibiotics which had been described. And it was destiny which timed their work to come into fruition in wartime when penicillin was most needed. It may be that while we think we are masters of a situation, we are merely pawns being moved about on the board of life by some superior power. Thank you.
I'm sorry I'm late. I had some car trouble. You see, my car doors froze shut. But no worries. I always carry a crowbar in my backpack. Anyway, I'd like to welcome you all to this month's meeting of Murphy's Law Prep. Murphy's Law Prep was founded 7 years ago by my mother, Myrtle Murphy. Myrtle was the great-granddaughter of Captain Edward A. Murphy, whose famous quote, "If anything can go wrong, it will," is the foundation of this organization. We help young people like you anticipate and prepare for life's problems. This month's topic is, drumroll please, airports. My definition of airports: a place where thousands of germ-carrying smelly people come to get from point A to point B as fast as possible without getting sick. In other words, they are a terrible place to be at. I have 4 helpful pointers to share with you, which will stop problems before they happen. First, always, always, always bring hand sanitizer. The grossness of airports is sick. They are an incubator for germs who want to multiply. Your body is prime real estate. Build some walls. Second, don't wear anything with metal on it. I missed my only sister's wedding because of my jeans. I was flying down to Orlando, Florida for my sister's destination wedding in Disney World. Proudly wearing my bridesmaid Mickey ears, I went through security. The scanner beeped. I was a tourist, not a terrorist. Flight 104 is ready to board. That was my flight. The security felt me down and found the metal bling on my pockets. Embarrassed, I grabbed my things and charged down the hall to the first door I saw. Outside, I jumped a go-kart thing and floored the gas pedal. Bam! I promptly slammed into a baggage cart. Suitcases exploded around me, spewing clothing everywhere. I lay there and watched my plane take flight and vanish into the horizon. I cried the rest of the day over my bridesmaid Mickey ears. Don't wear metal on your clothing in airports. Third, you need to bring lots and lots of spray paint. My least favorite part of flying in airplanes is turbulence. No one enjoys turbulence. What if I told you that you could stop it from happening? It's simple, really. Just spray paint the word fragile across the plane. You see, clouds think airplanes are gifts from the surface, so they shake them to see what's inside. So naturally, the clouds won't shake a present which says fragile. I've tried this method before and proven that it works. I did get sued after that by the airline, but that's a small price to pay for a comfortable airplane flight, right? Fourth, you need some stink-away spray. Way back when I was in high school, I flew to Hawaii. The 9-hour flight was the worst I had ever been on because I sat by this gross guy. After the first hour or so, he got comfortable, which for him included taking off his shoes and socks. The smell was so bad, I got dizzy. Then he finally fell asleep, but he snored and his breath smelled like garlic. Then my nightmare came true. He farted. It was the biggest, loudest, smelliest fart I have ever witnessed. The lady behind him actually fainted, and the oxygen mask fell from the ceiling. After that, the flight attendant had him moved to the back. But the experience scarred me, and I didn't fly until I found this spray. It's called Stink Away, and it's a miracle. It's totally organic, does no harm to the environment, and, get this, it can help grow hair. I strongly recommend it. I hope those 4 pointers will help you in some way. The last thing I would like to mention is the debut of our first Help Hotline. From sinking boats to diaper blowouts, our experts can help you. Call 888-221-2323 in your emergency. That's all I have time for today. I'll leave you with this quote from Oprah. Whoop, 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 whoop. Oh my goodness, what is that? Is that the fire alarm? Does anyone have a cell phone? Please call 888-221-2323. Thank you.
All right. Snow comes in many forms, sometimes as a disastrous blizzard, and sometimes as the softest and gentlest of dustings. Everyone's feelings about snow are different. Some people find it burdensome, while others find it peaceful, magical, and deeply meaningful. Today, I will read for you a collection of 4 poems from well-known poets who give their take on the wonder that is snow. This is Variations on Snow. The Snowstorm by Edna St. Vincent Millay. No hawk hangs over in this air. The urgent snow is everywhere. The wing, adroiter than a sail, must lean away from such a gale, abandoning its straight intent, or else expose tough ligament and tender flesh to what before meant dampened feathers, nothing more. Forceless upon our backs there fall infrequent flakes, hexagonal, devised in many a curious style, to charm our safety. For a while, where close to earth like mice we go, under the horizontal snow. First Snow by Mary Oliver. The snow began here this morning and all day continued, its white rhetoric calling us back to why, how, whence such beauty, and what the meaning. Such an oracular fever flowing past windows, an energy it seemed would never ebb, never settle less than lovely. And only now, deep into the night, it has finally ended. The silence is immense, and the heavens still hold a million candles. Nowhere the familiar things, stars, the moon, the darkness we expect and nightly turn from. Trees glitter like castles of ribbons. The broad fields smolder with light. A passing creek bed lies heaped with shining hills. And though the questions that have assailed us all day remain, not a single answer has been found. Walking out now into the silence and the light under the trees and through the fields feels like one. The Snow is Deep on the Ground by Kenneth Patchen. The snow is deep on the ground. Always the light falls softly down upon the hair of my beloved. This is a good world. The war has failed. God shall not forget us. Who made the snow waits where love is. Only a few go mad. The sky moves in its whiteness like the withered hand of an old king. God shall not forget us. Who made the sky knows of our love. The snow is beautiful on the ground, and always the lights of heaven glow softly down upon the hair of my beloved. And finally, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though he will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and a frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep.